to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. It's November 6th.
I can't tell if you're excited or you're about to punch a wall in anger.
Well, that depends. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon right across from me. Am I 5-4 or 6-3?
Who knows?
Who knows? Today we discuss Week 9 booms and busts, as well as some trade targets. We're also going to break down Thursday Night Football and some weekly matchups. We'll see how many we can get to. I listed a couple, but
yes,
we'll see.
We'll see.
Be sure to check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the FFChamps on Twitter, at thefantasychampions on Instagram. Like us on Facebook.com at facebook.com/thefantasychampions. Subscribe wherever you listen. Click the bell on notifications. Click the bell for notifications on YouTube. Leave a review. Share this podcast with your friends. Let's get right into the booms and busts.
That was quick.
That was fire.
Okay.
I just lost all my breath. And I need a minute, bro.
What position you want to start with?
Well, let's start with quarterbacks.
Okay, we'll work our way then.
So Russell Wilson had
absurd
39-point week. If you're in a 6-point touchdown league, you got a lot for Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went freaking ham as normal. How many weeks in a row? How many weeks is he going to have these big games and then completely screw people? It's
I
like
have no idea.
I've never seen him more inconsistent in my entire life.
Yeah. They just run the ball.
Yeah.
And then 1 week they'll run it, and 1 week they'll throw it.
It was like, oh crap, we got to throw the football this week, and then they do. Russell Wilson has been very good at some points this year, but this week was one of those great games. 39 fantasy points, probably won you your game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If you had him, Jimmy Garoppolo cracked a shell.
Hey,
28.
Wasn't he your streaming
points.
guy last week?
He was.
Here you go, Jimmy G.
I don't think I hit on many streamers this. But Jimmy G, Lamar Jackson against the Pats, 28 fantasy points. Talked a little bit about him yesterday. Matt Stafford, 25 fantasy points.
He was originally my QB start of the week.
Streaming option.
And then you stole him from me, so I'm just going to take credit for Matt Stafford as well.
No, I'll take credit for Matt Stafford and Jimmy Garoppolo, two of the top 4 quarterbacks. This week goes to show you. At 86, Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson. Jimmy Garoppolo and Matt Stafford are some great streaming options.
We can keep going down this list, too.
Yeah. Ryan tanned
Number
enough
5.
hills for 25 fantasy points.
Yeah.
So I think, and then you got Fitzpatrick with 23.
Kyler Murray had a very good week, which
23 fantasy points. Yeah. He got back to what he was doing week to week. And then Kirk Cousins, another streaming option. Jameis Winston, I don't think you started against Seattle.
No.
But then you talk about guys that you expected to be good. Deshaun Watson had 19 fantasy points. Not that he busted. He was still a top 10 quarterback.
Just pretty average.
But it was an average game, yeah. And then you had...
How about Derek Carr, my streaming quarterback? Woo! Not bad. Not bad.
Not a
First
bad
streaming option, not bad.
Not a bad performance. What about Baker? His 17
Wow, look
points.
at that.
Oh, you're ascending, Mr. Mayfield. It was the new mustache that got him that. Yeah, it is weird week to week to see, if we were to talk last week and I were to tell you that Jameis Winston was going to get 20 fantasy points against Seattle, you would have probably said probably not.
Yeah. Look at the bottom. If you go to the bottom of the list, there's a lot of big names. Minshew, who I thought was going to have a good week. He has been consistently good all season. The 2 weeks I have mentioned him on the podcast, he's done bad. So I'm going to I'm taking
He's
credit.
He's going to stop mentioning
I'm going to take
Minshew.
Credit for the Minshew curse. I'm no longer going to say his name.
Oh, boy.
He'll get, I won't say it, but you can put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
But Phillip Rivers, not a good week. He hasn't been good all year, though, honestly.
No.
Aaron Rodgers.
12.
Brady.
Yep, 14.
Although Brady you should have kind of seen coming on the road against Baltimore.
Yeah. Oh,
Carson Wentz, 15. So there's some guys that are starting in a lot of leagues.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that Tom Brady owners are starting to realize something here. It's a trend. Run from the trend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is a stream like that. When I talked about streaming quarterbacks in the offseason, it was literally not a joke. Like stream quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Like you might miss every once in a while, but if you are good at streaming quarterbacks and you can pick the right one on a week-to-week basis, avoid Thursday Night Football. But on a week-to-week basis, if you do pick the right guy, you're probably going to end up with a good week. We told you to start Jimmy Garoppolo and Matt Stafford. It's not a brag. It's a streaming quarterbacks works.
I mean,
there's so many options.
It's literally it's not difficult either. It's just quarterback on a good matchup.
That's why people like to
Usually at
stream
home.
tight ends, and
Yeah.
that's the hardest position to stream because you just don't know.
Right. Quarterbacks
But,
are a little different.
Quarterbacks is so
You-
easy,
I
and
mean-
so many people. It's funny because people will be like, "I'm going to stream tight ends," and then they suck at streaming tight ends because it's impossible. And then they're like, "I'm not going to stream quarterbacks. Why would I do that? It's like the easiest streamer."
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
figure it out, guys.
You're not going to get it every week though.
No.
Which is some problems. Like out of the 4 guys we mentioned, 3 of them did good, which I think is consistent.
Yeah.
So that's probably how it's going to play out in your fantasy season. Like
Right.
every 4 weeks, you'll hit on 3 of them.
Choose the best possible matchup.
Yeah.
Because it's not our fault that a guy sucks in a bad matchup, but also
or good
guys
matchup,
like Mr. Mustache, Minshew Mania.
Yeah.
But you can't mention his name on this podcast anymore.
I can't say his name. You
but
can.
he says I can. He's a guy that is young and he's inconsistent, and I really don't think matchups are going to matter for him. He'll have
honestly.
good weeks and he'll have bad weeks, and the good weeks will probably be against good matchups. But if he has a bad week, it might be against a good matchup.
Right. Yeah.
He's not negative matchup proof. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
he might have a bad week, but you just got to watch out for that. And then guys, you look at Baker Mayfield, your man's top 5 quarterback. Dude, I had him ranked 10. You know what I mean?
Wow, yeah.
And he wasn't even that good, So it's like I think drafting quarterbacks high has no real you got lucky with Deshaun Watson. Because you drafted Mahomes, you've missed him for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
If you drafted,
I think though, if you would have drafted Mahomes,
but even
he's missing 2 weeks, but he's gonna be like a 30-point a game guy, or close to it. I think. I know you don't, but
It's not that I don't think that. It's that when you look at his numbers, even though 3 weeks before he got hurt, it was like 20, 18, and 19. You know what I mean? He wasn't being Mahomes-like. So
But
it's
even,
is that worth a second-round pick to you?
No, that's not. But
Yeah.
if he gets 20, 18, 19, and then an occasion, his floor is so high.
Yeah.
His floor is
No, he
18
can win
points.
weeks. I just don't think it's worth a second-round pick.
No, it's not worth the second-round pick. I agree with that. But
Yeah.
he could be a league winner.
But you just
Yeah.
look at even the top 5 quarterbacks right now, and Russell Wilson. I don't know if Dak's a part of that right now, but you have Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, guys that weren't even Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is the only guy that we were definitely in the top 10.
Oh yeah.
So
true.
it's but Mahomes would be in there if he didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
So it's there are guys that succeeded, but there are also guys that completely failed.
Matt Stafford, I think he's top 5 right now.
Yeah. So you
That's
just have
crazy.
to.
3 straight weeks with 26 plus points.
But this is why I like to stream quarterbacks, and I don't know why I've held on to Dak all season. We'll see what happens. But the reason why I like to stream quarterbacks is that, like you were saying, you get Mahomes, and he has these big weeks, right? The chance of you getting a Mahomes in your fantasy league without spending a high capital draft pick on him is very, very hard.
Right.
And so for me, if you were to calculate an average, like Mahomes last year had 400 something fantasy points through a 16-week season, right? Uh-huh. You divide that out, and he had an average of 25 points a game. Could you stream 25 points a game? Yeah.
That would be very hard, but
I don't think it's hard. I really don't.
You would have to hit on the top stream each week. That is hard.
Yeah, but even
you could do it week to week.
The two guys we mentioned, Jimmy Garoppolo, Matt Stafford,
this week,
28.
yes. But
even
every single week,
even
and hit on
Kirk,
it.
We talked about Kirk Cousins. He had 21, so it's but you're not going to get 25 on average every week.
I get what you're saying though. You could, yeah.
But you're not going to get like sticking with one guy. Like I'm running with Dak Prescott. And Prescott had a 7-point week. And when you have a 7-point week, because you're like, oh, I really want to start one quarterback the whole season. He has a bad matchup, but I'm not going to stream somebody else in his place. And then the guy craps the bed. You lose your fantasy week for that stuff.
Yeah.
Because you need those 20 fantasy points from your quarterback because so many other teams are able to produce that. So anyway, that's my monologue on streaming. Let's move to running backs because it's a more interesting position. We are discussing in half PPR as always. What happened to week 9 running backs right now?
It's not working.
Are you having trouble?
It doesn't exist.
All right, I will figure out running backs.
Okay.
Oh my God.
You know what? I can pull it up though.
Wide
for half
receiver.
PPR. So the top.
Hold on a second. Why did it completely crap the bed?
I don't know. Just doesn't. It doesn't
Hold on
exist.
a second. I'll figure it out.
Okay. You sure?
No, I'm about 90% not sure. All right. Yeah, I'll find another source. Hold on a second. You continue. You talk. You talk about the top guy. Top guy.
I know who the top guy was this week. It was Christian McCaffrey. And he's been the top guy pretty much every week.
Yeah.
So not a surprise. 36 points.
Right.
I know Melvin Gordon went off this week. About time, right? You know who?
He's like about time
for me.
Yeah.
For my sake, as an owner of Melvin Gordon, it is about time.
Yeah.
I think he was number 2. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I know Josh Jacobs, 24 points, half PPR. Oh, you know who I'm missing? Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, I was gonna say Kenyon Drake.
Kenyon Drake.
Okay. Can I take a truth-through lap on Kenyon Drake?
I guess.
If he goes out and ends up the number 10 running back, which is where I was like predicting him to be a top 10 back, if he turns into that, I don't agree with the means, but I'll take it.
Fair enough.
He
Too bad
is
David Johnson's coming back.
so talented, and I actually probably think he's not better than David Johnson, but the way David Johnson has been playing the last 2 years, he's bad on the ground.
Yeah,
so bad. And Kenyon Drake goes out against one of the best rush defenses in the NFL and gets 110 yards. So that's crazy. I mean, I'm not saying Kenyon Drake's going to do that every week. But if he does get more opportunity, I don't know why they traded for him. I honestly, it astounds me. I can't figure it out.
As a 2-week rental.
As a 2-week rental. Yeah, you waste a 5th-round pick on a 2-week rental.
I mean, it's just a 5th.
Whatever.
But still, yeah.
So Kenyon Drake, he had 26 fantasy points. Very, very good game. Like you said, Melvin Gordon with a big week. You had Josh Jacobs.
Right, Josh
24,
Jacobs.
You friggin' idiot.
So Josh
Jacobs this week.
He was on our bye this past week, and I wanted to get him so bad, but somebody else in our league got him. His schedule was so easy.
I'm so regretting waiting one extra week to try to get him, and that the Chicago
I regret
Bears
not drafting him. I drafted Carry-On, I think. Which, I mean, hindsight's 2020, but he got hurt.
But Josh Jacobs with 24 points. You have Henry, 23.
Oh, yeah, Derrick Henry, your guy.
He scored a touchdown. He actually scored 2 touchdowns. He had 90 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Who?
Derrick Henry.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Singletary had 95 yards, touchdown 45, receiving yards, 21 fantasy points. And my man's David Montgomery. You were so bad on the ground, but he scored 2 touchdowns, 21 fantasy points. David Montgomery has one of the easiest schedules for running backs in the second half of the year. If you don't own him, go get him. Try to snag him now. Well, people don't people are probably high on him. It's probably too late.
Yeah, might be too late.
I thought maybe I was like last week I was preparing. I'm like, you know what? He's gonna have a bad week against Philly, and then I'm gonna tell everyone to buy him. And then when he goes off, I'm gonna look like a genius. Well, he went off, and now I can't. But hey, you know what? Try to buy him anyway.
Yeah.
He has been relatively decent. He's getting the red zone work. He's getting. Can I note something?
What?
I was watching this game. First down at because I forgot it was what was it, Vikings Bears? I can't remember who they play.
It was Bears Eagles.
Eagles, yes. I don't know why I was watching that game. I was watching Red Zone.
Okay.
And so I was sitting here watching Red Zone, and I'm like, all right, David Montgomery punching in. I saw they got in the red zone. They switched to the game. I'm like, okay, here we go. They're on the 1 yard line. And lo and behold, on 1st and goal, what do I see? Tariq Cohen. And I'm like, what makes them think this is a good idea? It must be a toss play. No, they run it right up the middle to Tariq Cohen, and he gets his freaking butt handed to him. And I'm like, Matt Nagy, you freaking clown. Put Montgomery. They put Montgomery and he scores. I'm like, you idiot. What are you putting Tariq Cohen, your 5'11", 185-pound running back in?
He's 5'7".
Oh, my God.
5'11".
That's so enough. 5'7". I'm sorry. I gave him 5 inches. But, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like you have a 220-pound running back.
No, the Bears. I don't even. That's why, like, rest of the season, I understand everything is lining up perfectly for Montgomery, but there's still like the doubt in my head that the Bears are going to screw it up.
Yeah, that Matt Nagy's an idiot. I'm going to say that he's going to have a second half of the year breakout, but 21 fantasy points against Philly is not too shabby.
That's good.
Damian Williams had 100. What is
Woo!
it? You know what was more impressive about that play than him running 90 yards for a touchdown? Tyreek Hill catching up to him after he was 10 yards back.
Yeah, that was,
he beat him to the end zone. He's kind of really fast. Is there anyone else you wanted to talk about for big games? Or
no, that's pretty much it. Someone who had like an average game. So Le'Veon Bell, 16 points. This was supposed to be his first breakout week.
Yeah.
Now I understand. It wasn't as good as that. Yeah, I know. But if he gets 16 a week,
yeah,
he's gonna be a top. Like from this point on,
yeah,
the season, he's gonna be like a top 8 back. He's like kind of play the David Johnson role when David Johnson was healthy.
So gross.
It gets you points though,
unless he has some kind of nagging injury that we haven't heard about in terms of that MRI that they did. But I guess we'll find out. As far as busts for this particular week, there wasn't a lot of
Aaron Jones
massive busts. But yeah, Aaron Jones, he finally got back to Aaron Jones play. Let's go.
The whole offense was just not.
Fournette had 9.
Yeah, not
That's
great.
Kind of gross.
Not great.
Oh, and then the Mark Walton truther who's got Mark Walton slapped in the face. 5 fantasy points.
You know, I've 2 weeks this season. 2 weeks this season, I have said Tevin Coleman is so. All right, I said Tevin Coleman against Redskins, right? That's a good matchup. You would think he had 7 fantasy points. I was like, well, I'm not on the Tevin Coleman.
You get this one. You get
right.
Is this like another? This is a guy that goes on the no talk list.
I said, you know what, Tevin Coleman, I'm done with you. 7 points, not good enough. Next week it's 36 fantasy points. So I'm like, okay, that was pretty good. He's playing the Arizona Cardinals. Yep. That's a good matchup. Yep. Arizona Cardinals defense is not good.
Yeah, let's go.
Comes out, gets 4 fantasy points.
This goes on another.
I hate you, Tevin Coleman.
Is this another no namer?
No, I'm naming Tevin Coleman. I don't like him.
Wow. All right. Michelle had 3. Busted again.
At this point, I'm not.
Busted right in half.
Sony Michelle is just like not.
Yeah, he's a complete bust.
Yeah.
And then Rolls Royce had 15 rushing yards. So if you are holding on,
yikes!
If you're holding on to Royce Freeman, like my soul is, he completely pooped his pants. So that's kind of all the running backs that I wanted to talk about. I did want to note, what the heck does Raekwon Armstead have 9 points for?
Who?
5 receptions for 65 yards. It's the Jags backup running back, Raekwon Armstead.
Oh yeah, he did.
I talked about him after the draft, and they ended up drafting him in the 6th round.
He had 9 points.
He had 9 points, 5 receptions.
It was because
are you freaking kidding me? Leonard Fournette should be in for those other 5 receptions.
Wow. Are you saying he should play every snap of the game?
Yeah, pretty much. Let's talk about wide receivers. Lockett has 34 fantasy points.
Beast.
It's not
18
fair.
targets. Can I repeat that?
So I totally was on board later in the season.
Targets.
I was totally on board later in the later in the off season for Tyler Lockett, and he has been nothing short of awesome.
Yeah. He's been fantastic.
He's had some down weeks.
Like every receiver.
But he's definitely what is he, top 5 receiver right now?
Yes, I believe so. I'll look it up.
Mike Evans has his 2nd straight big week, 180 yards and a touchdown. Finished with 30 fantasy points.
As a Chris Godwin, Tyler Lockett right now is the number 2 receiver in fantasy. And you know who number 1 is?
Who?
Mike Evans.
So
someone in our league has both.
What the freak is happening with Mike Evans right now? He is a roller coaster. And
Mike Evans had 16 targets too. Holy cow!
You know he gets targeted so much they force the ball to him and then they lose every time. It's so funny.
Mike Evans.
The games where they've targeted. I'm not saying this as a Chris Godwin owner, but the games that they have targeted Chris Godwin more, they win.
I mean, they did really good against Seattle.
They did get good at it.
Their whole offense,
you know what's funny? Chris Godwin still had 9 targets.
Yeah, because Winston throws it a bunch.
You want
to hear Mike Evans the last? So if you ignore the first 2 weeks,
you know who's due? Chris Godwin. He's due.
No, you know who's due?
This is due for him to have
you want to know who's really
fantasy
due?
Point week.
OJ Howard.
Oh God, yeah, never mind. This happens. This happens. The last time it happened, it was flipped around on its head.
Yeah. And every time one of these guys go off, we're like, well, is he the actual number 1 receiver on this team?
Yeah, it's true.
I think it is Evans.
For Mike Evans, he's the number 1 wide receiver on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, yes. But I think the thing with Mike Evans, and this is the big concern for him, is that when he busts, it's bad. Like that game against New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't
0
hurt.
points.
He wasn't hurt. He
3
just
targets,
had 0 points.
0 catch.
Game 1 against San Francisco, Chris Godwin had a good game. 3 fantasy points. 8 fantasy points against Carolina.
If you take out those 2 games, dude, those first 2 games, and if you somehow ignore the 5th. But in those, his good games, 41,
he's been
16,
good.
16, 37,
both of them
30.
are getting targeted. They're not.
That's ridiculous.
Him and Chris Godwin are both getting targeted. It's just
his last 2 weeks, he had 12 and 16 targets, and then the week before that, he had 17.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I'm curious to see how it goes because there is we've seen this happen before, and he might come back down to that 16 fantasy point output. And Chris Godwin gets 2 touchdowns. I think it just honestly, it depends on the situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It depends on who they're playing. So I guess we'll see as the season goes along. If you're facing a tougher matchup, Chris Godwin's probably going to have a better game than Mike Evans because Mike Evans is going to get shut down on the outside. But 30 fantasy points, that's what you're looking for. You got a good game from Mike Evans. Metcalf had 24.
So 2 of the top 3 fantasy receivers this week were Seattle Seahawks.
That's gross. 1 touchdown, 123 yards, 6 receptions. A relatively decent game for DK Metcalf, finishing in the top 3. Tyreek Hill is a freaking man on a mission 90% of the time. A lot of people asked, quote, wide receiver 1? No. But he's very good. So
Tyreek Hill?
Tyreek Hill. People were saying wide receiver 1 in all fantasy.
Oh,
the number 1. Yeah, no. I was like, no, sorry. Marvin Jones. Now, I heard people be complaining about whether they should start Marvin Jones not over Kenny Galladay, but they were like, oh, every time I start Marvin Jones, it's on the week he has a bad week, and I don't get it. And I'm like, it's really easy to predict. The week they stop throwing to Kenny Galladay, they start throwing to Marvin Jones. Well, that didn't matter this week.
I was just going to say, they threw to both of them this week.
They threw to both of them this week, but look how many receptions Kenny Galladay had to Marvin Jones, and then compare that to the week before.
I cannot see the receptions.
So Kenny Galladay has 4, and Marvin Jones has 8.
Oh.
So this flips on a week-to-week basis, and I don't know
what was it
why.
the week before?
This is like poor man's Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. These 2 guys.
It is. It actually is.
Preston Williams had a good game, 22 fantasy points. He is obviously injured. You have Emmanuel Sanders, who's been thriving with San Francisco. Yep. Jimmy Garoppolo finally has a wide receiver who he can actually freaking throw to.
Who he trusts.
Do you think San Francisco is one of those 4 teams interested in Antonio Brown? My God, the receiver core would be monstrous.
They'd probably cut Dante Pettis at that point.
Oh, poor Pettis. No, they have other guys. Debo Samuel probably.
He's a rookie that they drafted.
It would be
second round.
Dante Pettis, and Dante Pettis was a 2nd round pick too.
Yeah, but he was 2 years ago now.
Yeah, gross Mohamed Sanu. You know, I'm pissed off.
What do you mean gross? You just say that because you have Edelman.
I'm a freaking Edelman owner, and Tom Brady's over here forcing the ball to Mohamed Sanu.
What do you mean he was efficient?
He was forcing it to He's forcing it to Mohamed.
Don't listen to him, guys.
I'm bitter.
He's just bitter. If anything, he was forcing it to Edelman. From a neutral standpoint, there was multiple throws where he threw to Edelman and he was not open.
Listen, I don't want to hear it. Mohamed Sanu had a decent week. 10 receptions,
Pretty good.
81 yards, and a touchdown.
That's very good.
That's very good. What I noticed this week is that every freaking wide receiver had a really good week.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else you wanted to talk about?
For the pluses,
For the
not
booms.
really.
Yeah, we got to move on. But let's talk about some busts. Chris Godwin, I wouldn't consider a bust because he had 10.
Okay.
But
Davante Adams is probably a bust. That Packers offense was so bad.
I just burped.
They had
Excuse
11
me.
points.
Yeah.
And they were lucky to get 11 points. Aaron Jones had 3 fantasy points. Davante Adams had 7. Rodgers had like 12.
Tyrell Williams' touchdown streak is over.
Yep.
He had 6 fantasy points. And Terry McLaurin, whatever you want to say, he's bad now.
Yeah.
Holy
DJ Chark.
good goodness.
Poor Chark.
Mecole Hardman had 118 receiving yards. 118 return yards.
Wow.
Yeah.
Christian Kirk. I started him on Thursday night
2.6
because I had Julio on a bye. I didn't want to start him, but I didn't have any other
All
options
right. So
because I had traded Cortland Sutton.
This to
And
me,
Tyler Boyd was on a bye too, so I had 2 receivers on a bye.
this to me is the bust of the week. Stephen Diggs,
Okay, yep.
1 reception, 4 yards. Gross.
That's disgusting.
That is absolutely.
Holy cow.
And I faced the team with Stephen Diggs. I'm still.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna lose.
Took an L.
Yeah, took the L. Yeah, I don't see Deshaun Jackson. I think a lot of people put out there and started, but I'm not sure how much of the game he played. So I don't know if we want to call it a bust or not.
Who was it?
Deshaun Jackson.
Oh, really? He played this? I didn't even know
did.
he played this week.
He played. He had 1 reception, 5 yards.
He was back out.
Yeah, I don't know if he got hurt or they just didn't play him very
He
much.
probably re-injured.
But so many people asked, like, should I start Deshaun Jackson? Should I start? I was like, no,
Oh,
don't do that.
you know what's unfortunate?
Don't do that.
Adam Thielen did play this week and had 0 points. So people started
He
him.
also got hurt.
He did get hurt, so it's not his fault, but he was in the lineups. You know who's another one? Allen Robinson, who we've been very high
I did
on.
tell people to start Allen Robinson
Yeah,
this week.
he had 1 point.
Yeah, that blows. I don't know. Philly. I'm going to say this right now. As much as I do like Allen Robinson's talent and what he can do,
He's capped.
we get sucked into this hyperbole every season.
Mitch Trubisky.
And Mitch Trubisky blows.
Bears offense.
He's very bad. Let's talk about some tight ends, booms or busts, or booms and busts. Zach Ertz has returned to fantasy.
Hey.
Goodness. 9 receptions, 103 yards, a touchdown, 20 fantasy points. Very good game for him. The door keeps revolving in Denver with Noah Fant, who we talked about yesterday. Jacob Hollister, 17
Huh?
Who? Yeah, no. I don't even want to talk about him. George Kittle,
My man.
16
George
fantasy
Kittle.
points. He is he becoming the number 2 tight end
Behind
right
Kelsey.
now behind Kelsey?
I've said that all year, but
He just keeps doing this roller coaster ride. Of,
he's actually more consistent than Ertz is, though.
listen, bro.
He is.
He's about as consistent as Darren Waller.
Okay, let's
I
relax.
love Waller. Mike Gesicki, we talked about him yesterday. Hunter Henry had 11.
Hey, Hunter Henry has missed 5 games this year.
Yep.
So he's missed 4 games.
Yep.
And he's still the 9th ranked tight end in fantasy.
That's gross. Let's talk about some busts. Or Kelsey had 9. I don't know if that's a bust, but
For Kelsey's standards, that's kind of not great.
you had Darren Waller had 6. Darren Waller, I want to talk about him for a second. For the last 2 weeks, he's been targeted a total of 4 times. I don't even know if it's Tyrell Williams because Williams only had
is he
4
coming?
targets.
Is it kind of not coming back down to earth because he's a
I
good
don't think it's
player,
coming
but
back down to earth because they still target. They want to run the offense through. I just don't know why they.
I don't know if they want to run it through. Like he had 2 targets this week. And I don't know how did he? Oh, did he have a touchdown? Oh no, 52 yards.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, he had 2 big catches.
Um.
They'll get him involved. It's not because you can't just all of a sudden not.
Yeah, no, he's still good, but I don't know.
You just love George Kittle.
Well, yeah.
He's like, well, yeah. Greg Olson. Did we say to bench him this week?
I think
I feel like we do this every week.
Yeah,
we play this game with we do
did.
the dance with Greg Olson.
We did say to bench him.
We'll let you know tomorrow what we think on Greg Olson. I'm not really sure anybody else is going to be a bust.
It's pretty much, yeah, I think that's
it. Is there anyone else you wanted to talk about in particular?
I think that's pretty much it.
All right, let's talk about some trade targets. We'll just give you 3 trade targets. Chris Godwin is my number 1. Godwin has an easy as crap schedule.
He does.
He has a very high ceiling, and he always gets around 10 to 15 points a week.
It's also usually, as you said earlier, that's like one receiver doing good, Evans, one receiver doing bad.
Yeah, but even
Godwin.
that, there was a week. There's been multiple weeks where they both played very well.
Yeah, but even so, like even if it's like one does good, one does bad,
right?
Now's the time to trade for Godwin because he's been on the downside.
Yeah, he's been on the downside.
Get him before he gets up.
Get him before he comes back up. I think he's obviously a great play. Davante Adams.
So this is a really good one. I think if the team owns him, he's probably owned him all season. He's probably getting sick of him. He hasn't played a lot this year. Injured. When he finally comes back, you've waited 5 weeks and he gets 7 fantasy points.
Yeah.
See, but what they aren't looking at is he had 11 targets in a game where the Packers didn't have the ball.
Yeah.
If their time of possession went up by like 5 minutes, he would have had like a Mike Evans or Tyler Lockett type game target wise.
Yeah.
Like he would have had like 15 to 16, 17 targets. In that
a guy that's getting targeted that much in a good offense is probably going to break through at some point.
If they're not scoring 11, if the Packers go back to 20 plus a game, Davante Adams is going to be really, really good.
Yeah. So I would definitely try to trade for Davante Adams. And the final guy on our list is Keenan Allen. Now, I don't know if I've talked about Keenan Allen before. There's only so long that this clown can be bad. I don't know.
He went off to a fire start.
Yeah.
22, 13, 37. I remember people were saying, like, I remember I offered something for Keenan Allen in week 4 before he started this bad streak, and he was like, I'm not trading him for anything. Like, people were saying that about Keenan Allen. Since then, 7, 3, 4, 8, 8, 5.
Wow.
He has not had a game with 10 fantasy points. But you know what? It's not like his targets are completely down. Last week, he only had 4. This past week, they ran the ball a lot this week. But, like, the previous 2 weeks before that, he had 10 and 11.
Right.
He hasn't had a touchdown since week 3. I think once the touchdowns start coming in, which they will, he'll be a good option. He obviously was getting overhyped in the beginning of the season. But now,
he was like ranked top 3.
Yeah, and which is a little bit gross. It was crazy, but
I think here's what you should expect from Keenan Allen, because I've owned Keenan Allen for 2 years in a row. Not this year though. Of course, the year that he gets like 30 points at the beginning of the season.
But you're lucky you're not owning him.
So no, that's true. But Keenan Allen right now, he's the player. He's always done this when he has played full seasons. He goes out in the first half of the season, and outside of those 3 games where he was really good, he blows chunks. He gets 7, 8 fantasy points a game. He looks like a guy that's just not good enough for your team. You're very disappointed in. And then in the second half of the year, something clicks.
Yeah.
Something just completely turns over for him, and he just blows up. He gets like 12 to 15 fantasy points a game and just has really good. He's never going to be like those first 3 games where he had 30 points and 20 and 30 and
the 37.
Like, that's not Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Like I'll tell you what Keenan Allen is, and that's like 12 to 15 points, wide receiver 2, like high-end wide receiver 2 numbers. So just be patient with Keenan Allen. If he's getting the targets, he'll get there.
I think
but it's just touchdown upside right now.
His playoff schedule is very good too.
Yeah. So
Jaguars, believe it or not, the Vikings and then the Raiders.
Keenan Allen to me is like 9, 10, or 11 in terms of where he's going to finish this year and what he'll probably average going out. So my thought is that you can get Keenan Allen dirt cheap right now. Like dirt cheap. Yeah. And if you try to go out to that owner and text him right now and say, I want Keenan Allen, you will be able to get a potentially top 10 ranked running wide receiver according to Fantasy Pros ECR for
not a lot.
So I would sneak in there, grab that before it starts blowing up. But let's start talking about some matchup breakdowns for this week. It should be interesting to see how things break down. But we got game 1, Chargers at Raiders.
Chargers at Raiders, baby.
Let's go. It's such a bad game.
Dude, I'll be watching it, though.
Yeah. Let's talk about the quarterbacks.
Melvin Gordon.
Stop. Philip Lindsay. Philip Rivers. I don't know why Lindsay came out.
Really?
Philip Rivers and Derek Carr. Neither of them to me are starters this week. I actually think, Philip Rivers probably.
To me,
Philip is a good
Rivers
play.
is actually a decent play.
He's a decent play this week. Let's talk about Melvin and Austin Eckler against Oakland.
I like them both.
Oakland's actually been a better rush defense this year than they were
You know
last year.
where they rank, though, against running backs?
Where?
It's actually 17.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They're middle.
It's
of the pack.
receivers where they're dead last.
They're dead last against receivers.
Or
So
close to it.
I think Melvin Gordon is a start. I think Eckler, I would probably put on the bench unless you need him. It's bye weeks, so
You probably start Eckler.
you probably have to start Eckler.
I mean,
but
half PPR, he's still been getting like 10 points a week. 10 with an upside of like, it's all receiving. He's literally just been a receiver.
yeah, it's true. Are you starting Keenan Allen?
Oh, yeah.
If you need Mike Williams as a flex option or a wide receiver replacement.
Maybe.
He had 12 points this past week.
Yeah, I mean, if you need somebody.
Yeah. Against Oakland, it's probably, I mean, you don't want to saddle up everyone. And then you have on the other side, Tyrell Williams, Hunter Renfrow, who caught a touchdown this past week, but I wouldn't start anyone else in that receiver core besides Tyrell Williams.
That's it, pretty much.
Yeah, and then as far as tight ends, I saddle up both.
Oh, I love Hunter Henry this week.
Stop. Yeah, what was the
I like
over?
Darren Waller, too.
Did I even say the over-under? 48 points. So this Thursday night game's gross. You say Philip
You
Rivers
say it's
is a
gross,
good,
but this could be winner. The winner of this game is like looking at a potential wild card spot here.
Oh, no. I'm saying Philip Rivers as a streaming option on Thursday Night Football is gross.
Yeah, but it's an
Like
actual.
if you were desperate and your whole league is owned.
That's a legit, I think, decent play though this week.
That's what I thought about Kirk Cousins. I was burned on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if there's anyone else you want to talk about in this game.
No.
Ravens at Bengals. I believe one of these games.
This is a disgusting
flexed.
game.
So this one is gross. 46.5 point over under. This should be well in hand for Baltimore in the first quarter. So let's start talking about quarterbacks.
It's obvious.
Wait a minute. How did Finley do?
They run a bye.
Oh, flip. So he's going to start his NFL career against the freaking Baltimore Ravens. Good luck, bro.
Okay, here's the thing I'm going to say about this matchup. Everyone on the Bengals I am not starting. That includes Joe Mixon. I'm probably not going to start Joe Mixon.
Sit everyone on the Bengals.
If you have to start Joe Mixon, obviously you need him.
All right, so let's talk about the real matchups.
Okay.
All right, so Lamar, obvious start.
Yes.
Mark Ingram, obvious start. Marquise Brown.
No.
Willie Snead. No. He's like, no, don't do it.
He hasn't been.
It's true. It's true.
Been good.
I was gonna say, no.
It's not really. I mean, he's been like real football wise. He's been pretty solid, but they just don't.
Not
to
against.
the
Not
receivers.
if you need him against Cincinnati.
Fantasy wise, he just hasn't. No, probably not.
So here's the biggest question. Mark Andrews. I talked about when he went off in the first couple weeks of the season. He was very good. He was very good. And then I said his snap percentage was only at 30%. And I was like, you got to keep an eye on that because every time he's on the field, he's running routes. He doesn't do anything else. Since then, he has been an absolute catastrophe for fantasy purposes. For me, Mark Andrews, I'm going to say he's a sit from here until he shows that he's going to be. Keep an eye on his snap percentage, but I just don't trust Mark Andrews anymore.
I mean, so you take out those first 2 weeks where he had 20.
Yeah.
He had 3, 11, 7, 10, 4, 3. So he's had 2 weeks where he's been, startable, and then 3 weeks where he hasn't been
a complete bust.
Yeah.
So I would say that unless there's anyone else you desperately want to speak of.
No.
Bills at Browns, 41.5 point under.
Okay.
The Buffalo Bills have Josh freaking Allen.
I think he's a good start.
Baker Mayfield is a sit. We have Devin Singletary, who I hope he's the starter. I hope.
Do you start him this week at a flex?
Yeah, maybe. No, I don't know if I want to start him yet. I just don't know if it's anomaly. an anomaly.
Yeah,
what happened
no,
Sunday.
that's fair.
I would wait one more week, and if Devin Singletary does get 20 touches again, I would definitely start him the
He
following
had 24 touches. Oh, 23 touches.
week. And then Chubb is a start.
Yep.
John Brown and Cole Beasley against Cleveland. You think either one of them is a good matchup this week?
I think you can get away with starting either of those guys, to be honest. I think both of those guys have been week in and week out pretty consistent, surprisingly so. And I want to see John Brown. Yeah, so John Brown this season has been very underrated in my opinion. He hasn't had that many great games, but his floor has been pretty solid. Like his worst game this season is 7.5 points.
Yeah.
So he consistently gets like 10. He's had a few games with 10, 16, 21, and then he's had a few games with 9 and 7. So he's been pretty decent and in a decent matchup against the Browns. I think he's worth a start.
Yeah, I think so too.
Even Cole Beasley's been
Cole Beasley. Solid. Yeah, he gets a decent amount of targets. So
I'd start John Brown though.
Yeah, I'd start John Brown over Cole Beasley. Yeah, Odell Beckham is a start. It's a hard but close your eyes.
I know.
Start at this
point. You still start him though.
You have to start Odell. But Jarvis Landry, Ricky Seals-Jones, the tight end, Antonio Callaway. If you have any other Browns players, you probably shouldn't be
playing them.
You shouldn't be playing them. And I think that's all the guys that we have for this game. Let's talk about Lions at Bears. Another gross game. 42.5 point over under. I believe this game was flexed to 425. I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
Ugh.
So Lions at Bears. We got our boy Matt Stafford going up against the Chicago.
So I've been high on Matt Stafford the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
I don't know if he's a good play this week.
Okay. Against Chicago?
Yeah.
No pass rush?
They still got Khalil Mack. I don't think he's bad because Chicago's defense is not the same as it was last season.
Right.
But it's like in Chicago, I don't know how good he's gonna do.
Right. I would say he's an okay start if you're desperate, but
there's I think this week there's better guys.
Yeah. Mitch Trubisky is a set, obviously. And then so you got this situation and now Paul Perkins is the third running back. Unless Detroit signs somebody this week, you have Ty Johnson and J.D. McKissick. I don't start either. I'm not starting either against Chicago, but I don't know. Like if you had to choose one guy, probably Ty Johnson.
Yeah,
I just don't know. I'm expecting them to make a move. They kind of have to. They don't have anybody. Christian McCaffrey's must start. Let's talk about wide receivers. DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel against the Detroit Lions. You can expect a monster week from Christian McCaffrey, by the way. Detroit is like number 30 against the run. Moore, Curtis Samuel.
Christian McCaffrey? You said the Panthers.
I'm sorry.
You were looking at the
sorry, wrong team.
You mean David Montgomery? Is that the guy you wanted?
That's the guy I meant. I was looking at the team next to him. David Montgomery is poised to have a really good week against one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL, so I would start him this week. I would not start Cohen because he's just garbage if you own him. Wow. What about A-Rob or Anthony Miller?
I'm not
Taylor
starting
Gabriel?
any receivers for the Bears until either the Bears get rid of Trubisky or he shows that he's a good quarterback.
So now that we had the glorious reset, Kenny Golladay or Marvin Jones?
Well, since Marvin Jones had more catches this week, I think it's safe to assume Kenny Golladay is going to have a good week.
Which one do you want? Do you want to start both or no?
I think if you have either one of your on your team,
start them.
Yeah, I'd probably say.
All right, and then what about the Hawk? Always worth a mention.
He had 7 fantasy points this week. That's not terrible.
Yeah.
No, he's not. He's not start though.
Let's talk about the final game that we had slated. Giants at Jets, 43 points. That's another gross
Battle of New York.
Giants. Yeah, Battle of New York.
The real winner is Buffalo.
I can't even find the teams. That's how bad they are. We got Daniel Jones against the Jets, Sam Darnold against the Giants.
You know what's funny? I think in a deep 12-team, 14-team league, these guys are both streaming options for this week. It's good matchups for both guys.
Yeah, it is, I guess.
And Sam Darnold, so everybody's freaking out about Darnold because he had -6 points against the Patriots.
No.
Yeah, he did. But
oh shit.
Yeah.
We didn't even get that far down the list to see he had -6.
I know. But
that's crazy.
If you take out that game, he hasn't been like he had 15, and then 25.
Right.
So he could theoretically be a good streaming option at home.
Right.
Against, well, it's not really a home game. It's just whoever fans show up more, I guess. But
Yeah.
since they both shares the stadium.
It's so gross.
Yeah. So I think either one of those guys could be options, though.
Okay. You got Barkley start, Le'Veon Bell start, Golden Tate. It's probably the only wide receiver that you want to start for the Giants at this point. A lot of people will be like Darius Slayton, but I'm not really excited about that. You can start Golden Tate with confidence. Robbie Anderson, Jamison Crowder, both are good.
I think Crowder might be considered a start.
And then Robbie Anderson, would you like him? He had
how many points did he have this week?
I don't know. No idea.
I don't think he had a lot.
Yeah. You got Ryan Griffin, the tight end. If Chris Herndon plays this week.
Chris Herndon, baby.
Let's go. Chris Herndon actually does have a decent matchup, and then you got to start Evan Engram.
Yep.
Crowder's a start, but I don't know about Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, I probably would say no to Anderson.
If you need a wide receiver, then it's not a bad play. That's it, unless you have anyone else to...
No, I think that's
go over.
I think that's it, bro.
All right, that'll do it for this episode of the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Be sure to listen on tomorrow's episode as we break down more matchups and discuss our starts and sits for the week. Don't forget to check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Talk to you tomorrow, Fantasy Champs.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter at TheFFChamps.